Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Shavon Meyers on Talking Wellness.
And I'm Kelvin from Kiva.
And we are sponsored by the Kiva Centers. The Kiva Centers is a nationally recognized Indigenous-led peer-run trauma-informed organization. The organization focuses on development and promotion of healing communities for people experiencing different social class impacts like trauma and mental health and substance use. You're listening to Unity Radio 97.9 FM, Worcester's Community Connection. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for listening in. If you are listening in, how are you doing, Kelvin?
I'm doing pretty good.
So I always have to put Kiva on the spot as usual. That is my thing, because you guys definitely, you hook us up here. You guys sponsor the show. It's just, always good to know what's new with Kiva and what's happening.
Yeah. I mean, today being Tuesday, usually our community gathering, we kind of go over the things we got going on for the week or just even the month, with getting into the new season and time change and it getting a little darker now. There's a lot of things we're planning and trying to do. For example, at this current moment, for those who are interested in being trauma informed, we're doing tips training.
Okay.
You can sign up for it on our website or even come in. And it's just a way of just, if you want to facilitate groups at a certain point or kind of get the gist of what a peer supporter is, peer specialist is, you can take that training with myself or any of the staff. We also have a living with suicide training, which is very, very, really, really good. I like that training.
And that one is like extensive, right? Yeah. It's like for like extensive and intensive.
Yes,
I want to say,
yes. So
because it's a couple of weeks or something. Yeah.
And it's really good for those who are dealing with those things or family members who are going through those type of things. But for the most part, we have a lot going on. And for anybody who wants to celebrate Halloween with us, we have a little Halloween party coming up on Halloween that Friday. So
nice.
Wear a costume, kind of have a Halloween theme.
Where's it going to be at?
The Kiva Centers.
At the Kiva Centers. Yep.
427 Main Street. But for the most part, and then we also have furniture donations. We have a little partnership with some organization. I can't think of the name right now, but pretty much you come in, you sign a referral, and the only thing you really do need is a way to take the furniture from the spot, and it's in Marlboro. So if anybody has any more questions, you can definitely call Kiva or come in. But there's a lot going on,
Nice. It sounds like they're doing a lot of giving. And to me, I don't know what they did last year, but like a lot of opportunities to reach the community and give back.
Yes.
Right.
The whole point of this,
yeah,
community.
Definitely. I definitely love a good Halloween party, especially with like the kids and everything. And sometimes I dress up, sometimes I don't. I'm like, this year, am I going to be Superwoman? I don't know. Do you dress up or?
More like wear like a mask or kind of just try and get into the spirit.
Simple, right?
Simple, nothing too,
Definitely. Okay. I do like the training for crisis. I did one in undergrad, which was a while ago when I went to SUNY New Paltz for undergrad work. And I took a course called Crisis Intervention. It was really hard to get into that class, but for some reason I was able to get in, and I guess they had space. And we actually went to Ashokan. It's like a reservation upstate New York, reservoir type of area. And they had different scenarios set up. And some of them might have been triggering, but I guess it tested your limitations on how to deal with the situation. I think one situation where one woman was going into labor and I really had to like coach people through that. Oh, wow. Another situation, someone was doing something inappropriate over the phone, the other line and that sort of thing. Just seeing, all types of trauma provoking scenarios. And we were timed on it too. So I did pretty well also, but I mean, in a time of a crisis, the blood is rushing through, you have to be able to react. Yeah. So there's a lot of training for that because some people freeze. Oh yeah. Some people freeze and they can't. And being in management, and especially doing like PHP, which is really intensive, when we had people on site, I had to be able to look out for that because it can be debilitating, for certain people if you have all this knowledge, but then when it happens, you're not able to do it. Right. So that's tough. Like if you need to Narcan someone, I had one person just avoiding it. And I'm like, look, we're all here as a team. Hopefully you're not, but she had a lot of anxiety anyway. And I was telling my supervisor about it, which I don't think my supervisor was too keen on it, but I'm like, she shakes sometimes and she's avoiding these clients who can be intensive and, with Narcan training, forget about it. You can see her face, but I reassured her, we just had to make sure you got the training done. And if she did have concerns, we would be able to support you.
Definitely, I'll say one thing I love about the tips training is that we get the opportunity for different types of crowds to come in, like Army veterans, people who already are psychologists and psychiatrists. They're just trying their best to kind of like be trauma informed. You know, we have a lot of different people who are already peer specialists are coming to kind of get a refresher of the training.
Refresher is really important.
Yeah.
I think that's key. It's just like the CEUs. It's, you know, you have it. There's always something new to learn, you know, be updated about, and just to reassure yourself that, you know, you have it and you can still do it, you know. So
it's nice that we get to give people that opportunity to come in and support their loved ones or even themselves, really.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Someone, I have a client who told me about like this, I forget what it's called, but it's like if you're alone at home and you're choking, it's a device that you put to your mouth and you squeeze it, and it's supposed to take the item out.
Oh, wow.
And you do vomit. I guess I'll try to come back with that name after the break, but you do vomit, she says, because the impact of the effect. And she says she has one in her car, she has one at home, but that is a fear. Like if you're home alone and you're choking, like some people may not be able to get to a chair and that sort of thing. And you just maybe, hopefully, if you are eating, you have the item right there, the device right there, and you're sitting at the table. And if something happens, or if someone else is, you can use it on them, and that helps.
That's pretty impressive. Now these days, I feel like there's a lot of things for everything, honestly.
She's like, I have one in my car. I have one at the table. I'm looking at it. Aren't you just a little too anxious? But you never know. Some people do eat and drive.
That's very true.
Technically, we're not supposed to, but hey, we're living in this type of modern day society where we're always rushing around. The only time you probably have in between leaving the house or, you know, to work is to eat. And you know what I mean? So, because an accident can happen and that can do something to you too, like choke or whatever the case may be. But I think I'll come back with that device. It's on Amazon. I was like, man, maybe I should do that, because some people can't do, you know, I know CPR, but you know, I never know how I'm going to react if my child is. Like, I am very reactive too, proactive and reactive. So I might just go there and be like, okay, this is what I have to do. Oh my God, something's going to happen. He's not going to be alive, you know. But some people may freeze up and freak out and be like, oh my God. So you just put that, you know, device on their mouth and just squeeze it, and then it just pulls it right out. Yeah. So that's good to know. Yeah. So there are different things you can do, but I think the whole point of this conversation is just knowing yourself and talking to, you know, some more supportive people. If you're feeling like, okay, I've received this training, but I still have worries about implementing it if something happens, you know, and that way you can probably get more training on the side, practicing the steps, you know, that sort of thing.
There's definitely actually one more thing I would like to mention for those who are riding the bus. I know in Worcester right now, buses are free. We have some woman who comes in working with the WRTA. She's like kind of like a travel buddy type of thing. So for those people who are kind of like having the difficulty navigating through the bus system, or even just being by themselves, who are like really super anxious, you have that bus buddy type of thing where you can connect with and then like move freely while using the bus. So for those who are looking for that, she will definitely, I think she'll be in Kiva next Tuesday to give a little presentation for our community gatherings, which if those who can't join in person, if you want to join through Zoom, you can.
All right. Awesome. Well, I'm your host, Shavon Meyers on Talking Wellness.
And I'm Kelvin from Kiva.
And you're listening to Unity Radio 97.9 FM, Worcester's Community Connection.
Hey, this is Ricky Duran, and you're listening to Unity Radio on 97.9 FM, Worcester's Community Connection.
Activa la radio y Unity Radio 97.9 FM te invitan a escuchar el bloque latino todos los sábados de 7 de la mañana hasta la 1 de la tarde por los 97.9 FM en la ciudad de Worcester.
Hi, I'm Shavon Meyers, your host on Talking Wellness, presented by the Kiva Centers on Unity Radio 97.9 FM. As a licensed mental health professional and leader in the field, I believe every story matters and healing starts with being heard. Whether you're navigating life's challenges or lifting others through theirs, I'm here to explore the paths of mental health, recovery, and wholeness. Tune into Talking Wellness on Unity Radio 97.9 FM every Tuesday from 5 to 6 p.m. for honest conversation and inspiration. This program is sponsored by the Kiva Centers, a statewide leader in peer-led support and recovery services. From Worcester to Western Mass, Kiva is lighting the way forward. Talking Wellness, every voice, every journey. Speak up, be heard, and of course, be well.
September is Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. The Massachusetts Prostate Cancer Coalition wants you to know that you're not alone. Prostate cancer is rising, but support is just one click away. Go to masspcc.org. Learn about innovations in diagnosis, treatment, support groups, and research. Find resources to survive and thrive. Visit www.masspcc.org.
Hi, I'm Shavon Meyers, host of Talking Wellness, and you're listening to Unity Radio 97.9 FM, Worcester's Community Connection.
Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Shavon Meyers on Talking Wellness.
And I am Kelvin from Kiva.
And we are sponsored by the Kiva Centers, and you're listening to Unity Radio 97.9 FM, Worcester's Community Connection. Okay, welcome back, everyone. I'm going to get that device name for you. I was scrolling. I thought I saved it in my cart, but I didn't do that on Amazon. But we have a lovely guest with us here today, one who's been with us on the show before, the lovely Brett Cotter. Brett, you're there? Yes. Yes, yep. We can. Thank you so much for joining us today and coming back on the show. I know you have a lot of exciting things that you want to share today. You have a lot going on. So for people who are just listening in, who are new to the show and that, they haven't heard any of, what you've done before on the show, in our previous videos, tell them a little bit about yourself, where you're from.
Born and raised in Queens, New York. Early in my career, I moved to California, where I had kind of like a spiritual awakening, got into meditation, and got into holistic, emotional, and physical healing. And that was going back about over 25 years ago. Mm-hmm. And since then, I've really focused on emotional healing, primarily inner child, very deep level soul healing, where you actually feel layers of old emotional pain leave your body. Mm-hmm. And reopen your heart, reopen your solar plexus. Often people have long-term problems resolved when we heal those inner child issues that we've been carrying with us our whole lives. Mm-hmm. So that's really where my focus has been for the last 15 to 20 years. And I do retreats at the Omega Institute. We have one coming up at Kripalu. We go to the Bahamas and do retreats. We're at the Himalayan Institute as well. Mm-hmm. And basically, people use our services when they're overwhelmed with stress or emotional pain or anxiety, or they feel like they have a relationship, inner family pattern. We help them break free from those repeating issues.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Excellent. Definitely. Okay. Well, thank you. And just to let you know, Brett, I have my co-host here from Kiva, Kelvin.
Hello. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you as well.
All right. So you have some new exciting things for us here today. I know before we talked a lot about trauma, and we're delving back into that. So let's talk a little bit more about suicide, techniques for suicide prevention, and the family handbook that you have.
So the Suicide Prevention Family Handbook has three main chapters. The mm-hmm. first one is how do you support a loved one that's struggling with deep depression or suicidal ideation? Right? How do you best support that person? The second chapter is if you are struggling with it yourself, how do you break out And the third chapter is for people that have lost a loved one, right? So the first chapter really, a lot of mental health professionals use the first chapter as well, because we have a few new techniques that help us best support another person going through that really deep pain. And the first thing is learning how to release our own stress. So when somebody expresses suicidal ideation to us, we get really stressed. It's like a normal human reaction to have our own stress come up in response to what we've heard them say. And the key thing to understand is what our stress wants to say is not going to help their pain go away. Usually it makes it worse. So there's an internal technique that I talk about in the book that helps you release your stress real time, clandestinely, so you could really be present for your family member, your loved one, your spouse, or your client that you're supporting. So it's releasing your own stress without them even realizing it, so you can stay fully 100% present in the moment with them. And then the next thing we talk about is body language that puts the other person at ease. It releases their defense mechanism. So a few simple tips there is you lean in with your left side. So your left shoulder is a little bit forward, your left palm is facing up on your thigh, your left thigh, and your left foot is a little bit forward. And you're using your left eye to look into their right eye. When you use these body language techniques, that subconsciously tells their brain that you are in listening mode and you're in receiving mode, and they feel safer to open up even deeper. And then we have 5 prompts that we actually say to someone that's suffering when they start to express themselves. And those 5 prompts are very simple. You state one prompt, and then you just kind of zip it. You don't say anything, and you let them talk. And then when they're done talking, you ask the next one. And the 5 prompts are: please tell me more. I want to hear everything. What's the hardest part to talk about? What's your biggest fear about that? And what does that feel like? And when you say those prompts very slow and you zip it and you just let them talk and you have the proper body language, they're going to start to unpack their emotional pain. Once their core pain is on the surface, then we use breath work to release it from their body. So that's kind of like all in chapter 1 of the Suicide Prevention Family Handbook. There's a few more techniques, but it kind of goes in a little bit deeper, and it's better if you read it and practice it that way.
That sounds very interesting, and I think those are very good techniques. I feel like some of us may use it, and that's in the field. Some of us may use it, that's in the field, but we tend to like the following steps after that seems really good. Tell me more. I want to hear everything. I can definitely feel like that putting me at ease as I hear it.
And the main thing is like people usually panic when someone else opens up about their deep pain about not wanting to live anymore, right? So we teach our, I teach parents this technique. I teach mental health professionals, clinicians to lean in further as their pain comes up bigger. So as they start really emoting, that's when you lean in with like this childlike curiosity and compassion, right? And when the compassion is there, that's what helps them ground. That's what helps them refine their center. And when they see that you could hear and see their pain and you're not panicked, then they start to realize that they're okay too. You just have to, the practitioner or the parent has to embody it first to reflect it into them as they're releasing their pain. So that's kind of like the gist of the first part of the technique that we teach. And then we have a few emotional release techniques that help them release the emotion from the body. And you actually feel layers of tension release when they do that. And it just brings the two individuals closer together, especially if it's a spouse or a family member.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. You have any questions about that, Kelvin? Because you guys from Kiva do like similar work and the training.
Just even going to add on to what he was saying, like to me, it really sounds like creating a space for the person to understand that like the person they're speaking to or they give them information to is allowing them to feel comfortable. And like there's many different ways of making people feel comfortable with the way you're standing and looking at them. And like one thing I've loved about Kiva and I've learned about Kiva is that we have a space where no matter what thought it is or how they're feeling, people are able to come and just express it because we've created that space.
Right.
And it sounds like an amazing thing that they're really trying to like get to or speak about in the book. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I love the way you just said it. It's really about creating a safe space. We're creating a container.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm teaching to the mental health professionals that come to me is how to create a symbiotic healing space between the provider and the patient. Because the patient is expressing their pain, and it's going to naturally trigger human reactions inside the provider.
Right.
So the provider is actually letting go of their stress in this session too. The patient doesn't know it because they're doing it clandestinely. So the provider's clearing themselves out, and the patient is also releasing their old compacted emotions because the provider's creating that safe place.
Mm-hmm.
So there's two things happening. Both parties are getting cleared out emotionally.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Absolutely. And you're right about that, Brett. I don't think a lot of people or clients realize that providers do tend to get, you know, a nervous type of anxious reaction because it's like, you know, everything's firing off. It's like, oh my God, it's like the sense of urgency, you know, and it's like, what do I do? How do I do this? Do I have to call this person? Do I have to do this? So I think really following up with those questions it puts everyone at ease because you're learning more about the situation, the individual, and kind of getting a clarity of which direction to go with a certain approach. So definitely comforting.
And if you think about the 5 prompts, each one of them opens up a layer of emotion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me more. Then when they're all done talking, you just feel the silence, and then you say, I want to hear everything. That opens up another layer.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you say, what's the hardest part to talk about? Now that opens up another layer. And then when you say, what's your biggest fear about that? Now you've exposed the subconscious issues. So we've now gone from the story to the source.
Mm-hmm.
When we start talking about our biggest fears about things, right? And then we say, what does that feel like? Now we bring the person back into their body. Oh, I feel that in my chest. I feel a ton of overwhelm, despair, and sadness.
All right.
Those 5 prompts will surface the core issue. Once the core issue is on the table, you can then ask the 5 prompts again to air out all the emotions that were compacted, all the complex PTSD possibly that are around that experience or that issue. And those 5 prompts in the safe space that the provider creates, it just unlocks and releases as the provider is owning and anchoring that safe space of groundedness.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, the key there is really the provider, you know, and really anchoring in the calmness, the clarity, and the compassion.
Okay, great. Those are all good techniques. Now, Brett, do you use those in your retreats? Like, do you teach these? Okay.
Yeah, I use components of it in the retreats because we're in a group setting.
Mm-hmm.
I use my body language. I also train intuitive trauma recovery coaches, right? I certify suicide prevention specialist. So there's a lot of different tools in my tool belt. And whichever one emerges in the moment, that's the one that we go with.
Right.
And often I'm learning new tools in the moment by following my intuition in the moment. I'll give you an example. Many years ago, I was leading a retreat, and there was a person in the retreat that was in a hospital. His son was passing away in the hospital. The son didn't die, but he was on the verge of passing away. There was like 10 doctors around his son, and he fell onto his knees, and he started praying, right?
Mm-hmm.
So fast forward 3 years after that, he's in my retreat, and family relationships are starting to fall apart because he's so stressed out about his son that did live past that moment. But we revisited that moment, and we did this thing called an inner child visualization where he went into it, called upon his most fully aware self to guide him through the moment, right? So he saw himself, he saw his son, he saw the doctors, but then he saw this version of himself that has been through it all. And it guided him through. And when we were doing this is kind of wild, when we were doing this exercise in the retreat, he actually felt knee pain. Because when he was kneeling on that hard floor, his knees were like on fire. And that pain came up when we were in the retreat. So he was feeling all the heartache, he was wailing, he felt the physical pain from that experience. But when he reconnected with his all-knowing self that guided him through, and we used the breath work to merge his all-knowing self into that memory, the pain from the memory released. And every time he thought of the memory since then, he had peace. He was at peace with that moment in the past, because every time he thought of it, he remembered his all-knowing self was there telling him, we get through this.
Absolutely.
He lived. So it actually changed how that memory sat in his subconscious mind and in his body. So what happened was he was able to not be so reactive with his family and so overprotective about his son.
Right.
So he was able to be more authentic in the moment and let his son start to play sports and start to live without being so overprotective of him and start to work on his primary relationships in his life. So that technique is now inside our workbook, but it came through in the moment. So there's a lot of different techniques that we use. I'm learning in my coaching sessions and in my retreats. I'm learning from Spirit. Spirit's teaching me the techniques as they come through. We have about 10 techniques now that I teach our coaches and our suicide prevention specialists on how to do this work.
All right. And we can definitely talk about it more right after the break. I'm your host, Shavon Meyers on Talking Wellness.
And I'm Kelvin from Kiva.
And you are listening to Unity Radio 97.9 FM, Worcester's Community Connection.
Hey, it's DJ Kid Cash on the ones and twos. Unity Radio 97.9 FM, Worcester's Community Connections.
Hi, I'm Storm, and I'm a part of the Bruce Wells Scholars Upward Bound program. The Upward Bound program is a program that helps many promising low-income, first-generation, college-bound Worcester High School students. After joining this program, I've learned many different and important life skills while making new connections and getting real-world experiences through internships and classes. If you're interested in any of these opportunities, you can find more information at www.sevenhills.org or 617-866-1293. That's www.sevenhills.org or 617-866-1293. A brighter future begins with you.
At KivaCenters.org, we believe every story matters and healing starts with being heard. The Kiva Centers are here to explore the paths of mental health, recovery, and wholeness with you. Visit KivaCenters.org, a statewide leader in peer-led support and recovery services, from Worcester to Western Mass. More information is available at KIVACenters.org. Kiva is lighting the way forward.
Recreation Worcester is a free year-round program for youth run by the City of Worcester. The program enriches this city's youth in athletics, arts, academics, and social-emotional learning activities. Food is provided for free of charge for all youth participating in the program. Learn more at the Worcester Recreation website, www.worcesterma.gov/recreation-worcester. That's www.worcesterma.gov/recreation-worcester.
Tune in to Affirmations with Alex, and together we will affirm our way to a healthier mindset by listening to empowering messages. Hi, I'm Alex from Affirmations with Alex. Join me every Monday through Thursday at 10 p.m. on Unity Radio 97.9 FM, Worcester's Community Connection.
What's up, Worcester? It's your boy AG, better known as Angelo Gray. And you're listening to Unity Radio 97.9, Worcester's Community Connection.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I'm your host, Shavon Meyers on Talking Wellness. And we are sponsored by the Kiva Centers, and you're listening to Unity Radio, 97.9 FM, Worcester's Community Connection. And we have him in the flesh here, Brett Cotter.
I made it.
You made it. Hey, we are all flexible on here, and I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you were on earlier. But we can obviously continue our conversation on the things that we were talking about regarding some of the trainings and how that kind of goes into the retreats. You know, you gave an example of one person that was at the retreat and how he was experiencing some symptoms from when he was, you know, dealing with some stuff with his son regarding his health, and how he's learned to let go and allow his son to live and not be overprotective.
Yeah. And the retreats, what I do with the coaching and the retreats, I've developed this skill set over the last 25 years. I learned it from my first teacher. I have to get really sensitive. Right. And what I'm doing is I'm psychically tuning into the person's soul's primal pain. When I feel it and then I hear it, and then I guide them through expressing it so they could release the core pain. That's their core fear from their most traumatic events of their lifetime.
Right.
And then I help them unpack it, all the little nooks and crannies. We verbalize all of it. We get it all out. Sometimes we use movement, dance. Mostly it's this technique I call higher power affirmations. And then what I'm doing is I'm tuning into their higher self to hear certain phrases of what they can say that will unlock and release the tension from their muscles, their organs, their bone, and their cellular memory. We call upon an emanating light, right? I know we're talking about a lot here. We're talking about a core's primal pain, and then we merge it with an emanating light. And what happens when you merge the soul's primal pain with an emanating light, the light and the pain mix, and the tension turns into expansion.
Right.
And that's when they feel the layers of emotional release happen. So that's kind of like what's happening on like a very cellular, almost like atomic level, an energetic level.
Okay.
And then what people feel is memories will just start popping up from like childhood. They'll feel the same emotions that they felt when they were a 4, 5, 6, or 7, 8-year-old kid that had been trapped away.
So you're tapping into like some sort of vulnerability as well, would you say?
So there's vulnerability on everybody's part is what creates the safe space.
Okay.
So I'm wide open. I'm listening to my intuition. I'm open and feeling and seeing what they're going through and listening to everything they're saying. So I'm listening on this end and I'm listening on that end. So I am wide open. I'm like a conduit for the healing to happen.
Right.
And the pain they show me is the pain that's going to be lifted and released. Right. Wow. Sometimes in retreats, and this is how I was in my first retreat, I was scared. Right. I held on to it for like 3 days. I'm like, I can't say what wants to come up in front of other people. But the releases happen in like 5 minutes or maybe 10 minutes. They happen pretty quick. It's like lightning in a bottle once we're in the space, because once somebody over on this side of the room goes, and let's say it's issues with their father, you know, there's usually like 4 people on the other side of the room that had similar issues with their dad. And that activates everything, you know. So now the affirmations that I'm doing with this person, most of the group is saying, and we're all releasing issues that we have with our father. Right. So typically retreats, like an afternoon session, will have like a theme. Like today, the group's releasing a lot of this. Then the next day, it'll be a little bit different. You know, it's kind of like surfing the waves.
I do have to go to one of those retreats. I like stuff like that. You know, I think we can all use some sort of releasing, but I like how it's like a community effort where, I don't know, like spiritually, you know, the energy of others are helping it together.
Yeah.
Where, you know, because strength is in numbers, right?
The group gels.
Yes.
Big time. And, you know, a few years ago, I came up with this saying to, you know, try it out and just come vibe with your new tribe. Like, just try it out and you're going to meet people. Like within the first day, you're going to know more about the person next to you than they've ever told anyone. and they're going to know more about you than you've ever told anyone, because the stuff that comes out is the stuff that we've been holding inside. So that's one thing that brings the group together, because we're sharing such intimate, sensitive experiences with each other, and that's gelling us. But then the way the affirmations work, the group repeats the affirmation. So the group is supporting the individual going through the release.
Right.
And one of the dynamics that's very important is, I joke around before the retreat starts. I said that you're going to want to get up and hug people when they're crying, but I don't want you to do that. Not because I'm a bad guy. Right? It's just because
shame on you. No empathy in
it's
retreat.
just because, right? It's just because you're not going to be with that person for the rest of their life every time they're upset. And I want them to feel the healing from within, because spirit is going to bring the healing through from inside their body. And when you feel that, no one could ever take it away from you.
Right.
So we have this thing called pass the tissues. So when someone's crying, you just pass them the tissues. So we usually have like a crate of tissues in the retreat room, and people are just passing them around like hockey pucks, as people are crying. So they're usually like, shooting it across the floor. But that's how we show our compassion for each other. And then in the breaks, that's where people are hugging and talking like, that meant so much to me when you expressed that, because I went through the same thing.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. It reminds me of being in session. You do pass the tissues a lot. Sometimes you try to have tissues near, but that's awesome. Okay. Now you have a retreat coming up now that we're on retreats, right?
Yeah. So we have our next retreat is at Kripalu in Massachusetts. And we're really excited. This is our second year there. It's from October 9th to the 13th. And, our retreats have been growing and growing over the years.
Right.
I would say our retreat could have anywhere between 20 and 35 people usually. And the common denominator is people that feel overwhelmed by anxiety, stress, or they just feel like there's so much emotional pain that they're willing to try something new now. And we go in there and we use movement, Qigong in the morning. We do a morning release emotional healing session for the group. Then we do another one in the afternoon. Then we do like a half-hour yoga nidra session where it's a very deep guided meditation by me. I have about 25 years doing meditation, so it's one of my favorite things to do.
Right.
People have amazing experiences, very deep experiences in these meditations. And then we also incorporate journey dance.
Okay.
So Toni Bergen's the founder of Journey Dance. She's been doing that for about 28 years now. She travels the world doing it. And my wife, Stephanie, who leads the retreats with me, she is also a certified journey dance facilitator. So after a few people release, we like to keep the vibe light, and we'll get up and do a guided journey dance to a few more maybe like R&B songs, Bob Marley songs, just something to keep the vibe light and to release more and to kind of like shake it off. Sometimes we use rock and roll. It just depends on the demographic that's at the retreat.
Okay. So I want to go into the prognosis of the lasting effects of these treatments, because it's like, are you a Reiki master? No. So I'm a Reiki master. So doing the attunements, obviously you have to heal yourself in order to heal other people. And it's very emotional and intense. But that it can be lasting effects, right? To be able to heal yourself and heal others. So when people go to your retreats, how long does the effects last for, or do they continue to have to continue to do the work to keep that
is such
effect?
A great question. So let's start to unpack it.
Right.
What you came to the retreat for, like let's say you came because you broke up with your spouse, right? And there's like a lot of heartache on the surface. When you come to our retreat, we actually are getting to the root of that heartache. And it's the original fear of abandonment, where you felt you might have lost love with one of your parents. So where love originally, let me say this, where the illusion that love originally left you, that gets healed from there. And then you reconnect with your own sense of self-love.
Right.
So no one can take that away.
Right.
Because you've reconnected from the inside out, right? Now, I tell people in a joking way at the end of the retreat, this is a catch and release program, right? Like something caught your eye in our marketing or whatever, or you heard it from a friend, you came, and now you're going back into the wild. And I say, if you're thinking about the ocean, you're at the beach, the tides, in our society and in humanity, the tides of stress, they tend to pull us out to the sea, right? So we have a membership, and when you come to a retreat, you have a free year where my wife and I are teaching every day for a half hour live on Zoom, and you're with us. So we take you for a full year. It's 250 wellness sessions that we're helping you ingrain the lessons, the healing, and the self-love throughout the next year. So you own it, and that new structure is within you, right?
That makes sense. Owning it.
Yeah. And that's really the key, is in the aftercare. Because, if you're like me, you've been to a ton of different retreats, and it's like a flash in the pan. It's awesome when you're there. It's like, rah, rah, rah.
Right.
I'm going to go out there and change the world or get my life back. And then 2 months later, you're like back in Crapsville, for lack of a better term, right? But so this is, we release the inner pain while we're there. We create a safe container, but now we have to go back to our families, our jobs, and we teach people how to have healthy boundaries so that their energy is not overrun by the space invaders, right? And the energy vampires, right? So it's knowing how to see it and put the stop sign up and say, no, it doesn't work for me anymore. Right?
Well, yeah, I like that. I'm so into it. And I got to get that date of the retreat again in my mind. I totally just forgot about it. And I want to go to one, but I have to plan that out ahead of time because I'm so into stuff like that.
Me too.
Yeah. October 9th. So next Thursday, what is it? 2 Thursdays from now?
Yeah. How often do you have the retreats?
We usually have one a season. So like once every 3 months.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll have a women's retreat, late winter, early spring. Yeah.
And
so we're going to start to have some more retreats on the website.
Okay. And so there's all women retreat, and then there's just the October 9th one. What type of retreat is it?
That's co-ed.
Co-ed. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Nice.
Yeah. We kind of like balance it out. One-on-one. We'll do co-ed. We'll do a women's retreat.
I'm probably going to have to catch the one in 3 months. It's too. I'm thinking about my kids and work.
Yeah.
That would be like to really do something like that. I think we can all use a re-up or taker sometimes when we're trying to go on our healing journey and be introduced to like new techniques and that sort of thing. Now, if someone is not ready for this type of work, but they go on the retreat and they have like some severe blockages, like would they need to go to another one? How do you work with that individual?
So we love blocks.
Okay.
This happens all the time.
Yeah.
Right. We get halfway into the release and a person is like stuck.
Yeah.
So we breathe into it. We touch it. I ask them, what does it feel like? Does it feel like, what color does it feel like? Some people say it feels red, black, blue. It feels tight. It feels like sadness. Okay. What does it want to say?
Yeah.
I'm afraid, right? Usually blocks are around fear. And then I guide them through, depending on where it is in their body, certain movements that open up that area of the body. And then before you know it, the block is flowing and we're letting go. But life is like a box of chocolates. No, life is like with stress and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like layers to the game. If you ever played like games when you were a kid on like, I'm old. So like we had ColecoVision, Atari, we had Nintendo, but everything was levels.
Right.
And as you get good at the game, the levels start going quicker and faster,
Get harder.
So, So right now, when people enter into the program, they learn how to deal with the stress that they have right now. Right. And they learn how to maintain, how to breathe, how to face stress and still focus on their breath. Right. And to release the fear in their body. So when you get good at the core skill set, you can face the next level of the game. Now, sometimes in life, life tends to throw more than one softball at your head to see if you could handle it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
My mom said this to my wife like a year ago when we had a lot of stuff going on. And she's like, Steph, sometimes life, you feel it's given you so much that you can't handle it. Like it's too heavy, it's too much. And then they put another thing on top. Just to show you that you can handle it.
Oh yeah, I know that feeling all too well.
You know,
just when you think it's over, it's just and you feel like it's a joke, or you feel like just like life is going after you, right? But it's you do have the ability to handle the situation. And one thing I like what you said, Brett, before too, is that with this particular person that you talked about, like how they had to tap into a time where they really felt helpless, or they felt everything wasn't going great, and then they were able to work with that and go back to that strength to be there for their son, or to become that version of themselves. Sometimes we have to think about what we've done before and how we've overcome way worse situations, to deal with the ones that we're dealing with now.
Yeah. And
remember who we are.
One of my buddies said to me many years ago, there was a lot going on in my life, and he's like, what would your 80-year-old self tell you? How would your 80-year-old self that's been through all this, what would they say the most important thing for you to keep in mind right now? And then when you ask yourself questions like that, you usually get an answer. I got an answer right away to what was going on in my life right there. It's like popping out of the stressful situation. We got to pop the balloon of stress, breathe, see it clearly, and then we could open up to our true intelligence, our true consciousness, so it could show us how to face it.
Absolutely. You have any questions?
No, just to really add on, I really enjoy this. I feel like, in the healing, exactly. In the healing journey, no matter what it is, I love the fact that it seems like you're using the clinical side of it, but the spiritual side, and it's coming from both parties, the supporter and the person getting the support. So I love the fact that you can just be able to really let people really see what they got going on clearly, understand what's really happening, and take those steps to heal it. Like this conversation, we can go for an hour.
Yeah, I know.
So,
I'm so into this sort of stuff, and just
too.
Healing and tapping into the spirit, and people do have to open those channels and those blockages. You know what I mean? Just to be able to reach truly who they are.
Right.
Yeah.
And I love what Kelvin said. And I was at a symposium, and a person raised their hand, and they asked a question like, is this technical or is it mystical? And I said, it's technical just to get into the mystical.
Technical, mystical.
Just to get into the mystical, just to open up. It's like, do these 3 steps, and all of a sudden you're in the spiritual, you're in the mystical. So I feel like our path here is to kind of like access that.
All right. Well, I'm your host, Shavon Meyers on Talking Wellness.
And I'm Kelvin from Kiva.
And you're listening to Unity Radio 97.9 FM, with just community connection. Thanks for coming back on the show, Brett.
Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely.